Well, welcome to 2025, Louise.
Yeah, already.
Pleased to meet you. This is the first interview with Louise Crawford, the Mayor of the City of Port Phillip. And it's very good of you to make the time for that. I really appreciate that. We've got a lot happening already this year. And I guess top of the list is the Community Safety Roundtable that's coming up and what's
Yes.
led up to that. So do we know, we heard at the council meeting last week that the roundtable could be in March. Do we know any more details about that?
Now, obviously, we want this to be an effective roundtable, and it does take time to get together the experts and actually make it not just the talk fest, which people keep referring to, but actually be able to deliver some outcomes or some innovations. So it is taking a bit of time to, one, get all the stakeholders in the room and make sure it's an effective roundtable. So March is all we have at this point in time.
Okay, so but could you give us an insight into what it might be like? Will it be a public event?
No. We want to keep this squarely focused on the experts and the people who are actually really highly engaged in the area of that are of concern, and we want them to be able to have frank and fearless conversations with each other to actually get good outcomes. Yeah.
So will there be an opportunity for the public to make contributions or submissions?
Not at this stage. This is an expert panel. There will be plenty of, we're doing community safety, updating our plan. There will be so many points for community to get involved, have their say. We're all hearing it already, but this is about getting the experts' insight on the complicated issues that we're dealing with.
And do we have someone who'll be chairing it, or?
Yeah, we're looking to have an independent, eminent chair. There's a few people on the short list, and they're working through that. Someone who would be is highly qualified and suitable for the role.
So will it be like a one-day event or a series of events? Do you know?
We're still trying to work out what's the best way, but yeah, we haven't landed on that.
Okay, so that's fair enough. So one of the things I find interesting about this is that there was a unanimous decision of council to support this, and they're very different people, the councillors. They've come from different walks of life. So, I think that's partly influenced by the fact that we'd had the synagogue fire, and the response to that kind of brought people together. So, but as Mayor, I've kind of got two questions. What do you think's brought everyone together? And also, what are we doing to kind of keep that unity going? Now, how do we keep that unity going?
Yeah, I can say clearly this group of councillors, and I actually would say all groups of councillors, have been listening to their community. We've heard very clearly. There's also obviously a heightened set of circumstances at the moment in lots of regards. Whether it be the synagogue fire and the anti-Semitism, or some of the hotspots that are challenging antisocial and dangerous behaviour happening in spots in our city, we've really heard from community that this, feeling safe is really important to them. So I think that we may come from different walks of life or may have different views on how to achieve the outcomes, but we're really all clear that we want our community to be safe and feel safe. So that, I think, is the first one, is we actually all want the same outcome. However we get there, we may differ on the what actions are appropriate, but we're also really clear that one of our roles at this point in time is to try and bring people together, not just us as a councillor group, but our community. I think that is actually our leadership at this point in time, is about bringing people together, keeping calm, trying to work together collectively, because we're not going to solve this problem on our own. So I think that's what's brought us all together. How do we maintain it? Look, the councillor group is very committed to each other, that we're going to do everything we can to keep working together. And that's what I urge for the community, right? We're never going to solve these problems unless we all work together. So I guess we have a clear commitment as a councillor group and as a council organisation. And I guess would urge the broader community that let's look for ways that we can support each other and bring each other together to get to the other side.
Well, I applaud that. I think it's tricky though, stuff like, do you regret the decision not to go on the safety march, or are you happy with that?
What was that? What was the decision? So I didn't quite catch that.
None of the councillors went on the community safety march, and you've written about it.
We weren't. Yeah, look, it was a public event, and technically, Greg, we were never invited as councillors, so it's not like we refused an invitation. We wanted, the focus was on more police for the city. That's where the focus should have been, and that's where we felt was appropriate. We also weren't invited in any formal capacity. So it wasn't like we refused to go. So, yeah, no, I think that was the right decision. It was a community event, and we're glad to have heard from that community.
Okay, no, fair enough. So we'll move on from that. We'll make a note that we really want to hear more details of this round table as it comes up, and of course we'll get that.
We want to share it. Yeah,
and that will lead into the community consultation about the safety plan, and there'll be lots of opportunities to have your say in that. So now, to not be so doom and gloom, the next weekend is going to be the St Kilda Festival. So, my standard question is, what's the thing that you're most looking forward to seeing and doing at the festival personally?
Yeah. No, it's very exciting. We just had Pride March, so obviously that was a huge success and that was wonderful. Please let the good weather be with us for that festival weekend. Oh, look, I'm a bit old school. I'm looking forward to seeing Peter Garrett perform. I have long had an admiration for his work, both in politics but also as a musician, so I'm pretty excited to see him, and Troy Cassar-Daley.
That's good. And there's also, do you have a favourite non-music part of the festival?
Big dag. I love the dance zone. I'm not a great dancer, but I like to go and watch and, pretend to do a few moves on the side. I'm turning into my mother who used to do those kind of things too. But, yeah, I actually really love the dance zone.
Well, I think everyone's got a ticket to participate in this dance zone.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's also things like the Elwood Angling Club do free fishing lessons for kids. There is something for everyone. There's the Hare Krishnas will have their big, what do you actually call it? Their big wagon.
Big parade with their wagon. It's incredible.
Yeah, and they've got the music and they've got the food and, and then there's obviously all the different, apparently there's the big Hoof Doof Pride Patrol, which will be going up and down Fitzroy Street, doing some tunes. And then there's more kind of laid-back tunes around Ackland Street, with all the outdoor trading there. So there really is trying to offer, you'll come down and see something that you want to stay and enjoy.
Yes, and people watching. Lots of people watching.
Yeah.
And the big change too is a little subtle one, in that it ends half an hour earlier.
We're trying to accommodate the amenity of, people that live closer to, obviously, where the festival takes place. Yeah. And it's a Sunday night, so fair enough.
Yeah, well, that makes sense too. And, of course, we shouldn't forget the Saturday, which has a whole totally different vibe with the First Nations First. So
yes.
Have you got any highlight of that you're looking forward to?
Well, that's the Troy Cassar-Daley ones there. And look, I have to say, I'm not as familiar with a lot of the artists other than the ones I've named. So I'm actually looking forward to actually discovering those artists myself. But we've been partnering with the Archie Roach Foundation and, there's been some amazing talent on that Saturday previously. So I'm looking forward to seeing, those emerging talent again.
Well, as a friend of mine said to me, it's a sign of a good festival when you're in your 60s like I am, when you haven't heard of most of them. So this,
Okay. Well, then I should feel good.
yeah, that's right, because it means we have to broaden our tastes. So,
But look, there's ones that I don't know on both days, and I'm going to enjoy it. So, yeah.
well, I think past experience has told us that the First Nations Day is a lot more laid back, and it's because it's smaller, and it's very, it's very friendly atmosphere.
It's a very, very friendly atmosphere. And I mean, even though it's smaller than the day, they had like 25,000 people come through, I think it was last year, off the top of my head. So it's really successful in its own right. But yes, it's a much more chill day to come down. The crowds are not the same. So like if you're bringing down families and that, it's probably an easier day to be down there and enjoying St Kilda.
Yeah, so that's good. Now, I did write in TWiSK that I was disappointed that in the last festival there was a locals Friday night that happened
Yes.
where there were about 20 gigs of local bands in local venues put on by the festival. And, the explanation was that it's Valentine's Day. No, we didn't
Oh,
get in
yes.
the way of Valentine's Day. Nothing could get in the way of Valentine's Day. But nevertheless, the
Yeah.
question is, it's a question about last year it tied into the local music precinct. And so that means it's timely for to ask you the progress of that. Where are we at?
Wish I could say we were further along. We are waiting back from the state government on that draft amendment. So I don't really have any dates or further information because we're just waiting.
So
But we're keen to get going. But yes, we need the state government to approve the next stage.
So we're playing bureaucratic tennis. We've hit the ball to them.
I'm not across all the ins and outs behind the scenes, but I just know that's where we're at.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
fair enough.
But I am gonna speak to Valentine's Day. Having worked in hospitality for 25 years, Valentine's Day is such a huge night for traders. You kind of don't want to interrupt that, and having something on top of it probably loses its value, its extra bonus for St Kilda. So I do think, it's lots of tables of two, people wanting to have that intimate moment. So I do think, you don't want two things happening on the same night.
No, well, it's the way it is. So now we've also got we've been announced that there's a new process to select a new kerbside rubbish collection contract. Now,
Yes.
I also wrote in TWiSK now why was this announced on the 30th of December? In the middle of, while you were on holidays, while I was on holidays.
I don't think, it wasn't new because we did decide in the chambers in June last year. So it's not a new, I think they were keeping people up to date and then they reiterated it in January. It's more to, one of the things that we committed to was keep being transparent and putting, information out there. So it was probably it's not like we were hiding it. We reiterated in January and we will keep the community updated as the stages, obviously not the confidential bits, but what we're doing and the timing of it.
Yes, well, as I understand that the reduction in the contract term was a part of a confidential settlement that was reached.
Well, I can't speak to that, but it was on public record that we had moved to a shorter contract and we would be going out.
Yeah, that's right. And the report did provide evidence that the current contractor thought it was unsustainable. So they needed to do that. So
yes.
I guess the question is, what steps are you going to take to give the community a sense of comfort that this will be less of a shambles than last time?
Well, we don't want that to happen again. There was, having done that independent report, there were a lot of things that we were pointed out that we could do better in processes and information. And having been on the last council, I was privy to all of those things being put into place and briefed on all the stages. So we are doing everything that is humanly possible to ensure that the transition period will not happen in the same way. And there's been a lot of checks and balances and a lot more governance and things put in place so that it won't happen.
Yes, but it's not only the transition, it's, previously you selected a contractor on a price that was unsustainable. So, I think, what are we doing to know that the next contractor will be able to deliver?
Well, it's partly on councillors on our decision and the criteria balance, and that has been very much factored into what the new tender will go out and be looking for. Having said that, at that point in time, the evidence was that the contractor that we did employ had the track record to deliver. So, but all we can do is look at where we can improve. And that does include financial sustainability. Is it feasible? All of those things. Trust me, we will be looking at that very, very closely.
I'm sure. And I don't envy you.
No.
We're coming up to, I guess, the other thing that's a routine but important is the new council plan that you're developing and consulting on. Have you got any hints about anything that will obviously change from the last council to this one? Have you got any early mail on what might be different priorities?
Well, the panel's going on at the moment to try and get that deeper understanding from community. They're giving up 4 Sundays of their time, or 3 Sundays and a Tuesday night. Look, we've already had over 1,000 pieces of feedback via our very intensive first stage of just going out to community. Obviously, community safety is higher than it's ever been, in my term on council. So that what that looks like translates into the plan, I'm not sure, but it is a higher priority than it's been for the last 8 years. A lot of the things still line up. People care about the environment. People care about climate. People want spaces for their dogs off leash or shared spaces where they feel safe having their kids and dogs. So a lot of the issues haven't changed. I think it's where they sit in people's priorities, and community safety has shifted up.
But the important thing is that people are invited to participate in the process.
Yeah, totally. But the thing I want to say is, Greg, looking back now only because of experience, this is the starting point of a term. So yes, we set the high-level principles or values, but we consult on everything. So this might not be people's cup of tea. It might be much more specific the issue, but we are going to be out there consulting pretty much on everything. So this is not the first and last time that we want to hear from the community if this is not particularly your interest point.
Well, I'm sure the community agrees with that too, because they like to have their say when issues come up. So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's great that you can do this interview. I look forward to doing more in the future, and I guess the part of this process is to try to complete that loop whereby we ask questions and I publish answers and stuff like that. So it's good.
Greg, we need independent media at a local level. We want to communicate more with our community as much as, and I think everyone is on different platforms and different ways and so we actually want information to get out there. And 2, we want to hear from community the other way around, and so happy to answer questions. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Louise. And,
thanks, Greg.
We'll stop recording now.
And enjoy St Kilda Festival.